Hello everybody, this game I'm about to show you is based on tactics. So tactics are usually moves that win material or create very strong threats, such as checkmate. And these are usually very fun games to look at. This first video is going to be on one of my games from 2013, played at the London Chess Classic against Stephen Whatley, and this was I thought a very tactical, instructive game. I was white and I played c4. Knight f6 was then played by Stephen, and I chose to play g3. g6, knight c3, e5, bishop g2, bishop g7. So this may look like a very dull, boring, positional strategic game and many other adjectives I can use here. But the game is going to get a lot more fun in a moment. So I play e4 because I just read about the Botvinnik system and wanted to try it out. So after d6, knight ge2, knight c6, castles, bishop g4. So I thought it was going to go into a sort of a King's Indian type setup here with black's pieces arranging themselves in that formation. But after h3 and bishop back to e6 and then d3 to defend the pawn, I assumed he was just going to castle, but instead queen d7 was played to threaten my pawn on h3. King h2 defends it, and now he tries to hack me with h5. So he's trying to use the h-file by playing h4 and h takes g3. So it's an interesting idea. Let's see whether it pays off or not. a3 was played because generally in English, white wants to control the queen side, and black will often try and either control the center or the king side. And I was convinced that he didn't want to move his rook from h8, so he would castle queenside, so it made sense for me to counterattack where he was going to have his king. Knight h7 was played, so I assumed that g5 or f5 was coming up, but it didn't concern me too much, so I just played f4 first, just trying to gain a little space on the king side myself before I moved over to the queen side. My suspicions were confirmed when he castled queenside, and I develop my final piece, my bishop, onto e3. King b8 is just seen as a safe move, just to guard everything and get his king a little bit further into the corner and a little more safe. But that gave me time to see a combination and realize it did not quite work. So I took the time to improve on the queen side with b4, and I was crossing my fingers and hoping he would play the move I thought he would, and he did. h4 was played here to try and open up the h-file. And now, first little puzzle of the game. The rest of this game is going to be very tactics oriented, very, very heavy in combinations. So be prepared. As a hint to see what my next move might have been, have a look at my pieces. My knights are fairly good. Bishop on e3 is as good as I can make it, really. The rook on f1 is doing its job. But the bishop on g2 is just being a passive defender at the moment, as well as the rook on a1 not really pulling its weight. So, can you think of an idea of how I can improve my pieces? Yes, I do a pawn sack. I play f5, and he now has to take it. I recapture, and again he has to take the pawn, otherwise the bishop drops off. And note that he was unable to open up the h-file because h takes g3, check, knight takes g3, and my knight would then have been able to munch his bishop on f5. So here I decide to open up the king by wrecking his pawn structure with bishop takes c6. And his queen is tied to the defense of his bishop, so he has to take with the pawn. So here I threaten mate rather crudely with queen a4. And he did play the move I was expecting, and I had calculated with c5, blocking off the bishop. And I spotted that knight b5 would not quite work because of c6. So I thought, how do I get the queen to go away? How does the queen go away? How can you make the queen leave her guard duty? Yeah, we've already sacked a pawn, so may as well sack the exchange too. Rook takes f5. Again, h takes g3 as a sort of intermediary move to try and open up the h-file doesn't work because of knight takes g3 guarding the rook. So queen takes f5 is forced. And now knight b5. And here this is a disaster. It's practically won already. Stephen did continue with king c8. And there is a mate here. Well, the first move, we don't want to let the king run over to the king side, so knight a7 check stops the king going to d7. King b8 was played. Knight c6 check. King c8. Knight e7 check. King back to b7, and I believe he resigned here after queen b5 check, because apart from losing the queen, there is actually a mate here. There's a mate in 2. Can anyone see how you do a mate in 2? Yes, in whichever way wherever the king goes, you either play knight c6 or queen a6 check, and then do whichever move you haven't done already. So if king a7, knight c6, followed by queen a6, and vice versa if the king had gone to a8 first. So this game I thought was quite instructive in that it sort of shows that when you can activate your pieces and make them all work together and be very, very useful, then you can really create some tactical, long tactical sequences that just destroy your opponent in some ways. Because this player was not, someone rated 1200 V-Day or 100 ECF or 80 ECF. It was rated 160, I believe, or 158, 159, which is about 18 or 1900 FIDE, so definitely not a pushover. But in the final position, look at his pieces. The rook on h8, the bishop on g7, and the knight on h7 aren't really doing anything. They haven't done anything the whole game. Whereas all my pieces were doing something in this game here. So remember, try and activate your pieces quickly, and try and think in terms of structure and placement of the pieces. Anyway, I hope you really liked this video. Comment, subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.